Education is not just school. Education is a decision. And if you make that decision consistently, it becomes one of the most powerful wealth building tools you will ever touch. This principle from my book, The Affluent Negro's 7 Principles for Minority Wealth Creation, is called Educate Yourself. And I want to start by saying something that might sound simple, but it's life-changing when you actually live it. Nobody is coming to rescue you with information. No government program, no employer, no trend, no social media influencer, no lucky break will consistently provide you with the knowledge you need to build affluence, stability, and legacy. That responsibility sits with you. And I'm not saying that from a place of judgment. I'm saying it from a place of power. Because if the responsibility is yours, then the power is yours too. Educate yourself is the principle that turns you from a consumer into a builder. It's what helps you stop living by guesswork. It's what separates people who repeat cycles from people who break cycles. It's what turns talent into results and results into ownership. And for minorities, this principle has an even deeper meaning because we've lived through generations where information was restricted, withheld, filtered, or simply not taught. There are people who were never shown how money works, never shown how credit works, never shown how contracts work, never shown how business works, never shown how investing works, never shown how to negotiate, never shown how to network strategically, never shown how to price value, never shown how to manage risk. And then we wonder why so many people stay stuck. It's not always a lack of ambition. Often it's a lack of education. So when I say educate yourself, I'm not talking about collecting random knowledge. I'm talking about building practical understanding that creates leverage. Because knowledge without leverage is entertainment. And the world is full of an entertained people who are still struggling. Educate yourself means you become a student of what produces outcomes. You don't just learn what feels good. You learn what pays. You learn what protects. You learn what multiplies. Now, let's address a myth that hurts a lot of people. Some of us grew up hearing that education is only for certain people, or we heard education framed like this: if you go to school, you'll be successful. And while school can be valuable, we all know people with degrees who are broke, stressed, and stuck. And we know people without degrees who are building wealth, businesses, and freedom. So let's be clear. Educate yourself is bigger than school. Educate yourself means you take responsibility for your learning, whether you step into a classroom or not. It means you learn how money works, how people make decisions, how markets move, how value is priced, how relationships create opportunity, how systems create consistency, how to protect what you build. Because if you don't learn those things, you will keep paying tuition to life. And life is an expensive teacher. Life charges you in time, in stress, in missed opportunities, in bad contracts, in debt, in broken partnerships, in wasted years. Educate yourself is how you stop paying those unnecessary tuition bills. Now, I want to define education the way I mean it in this principle. Education is the ability to make better decisions because you understand what you're doing. That's what separates the people who work hard from the people who build well. Hard work without education creates exhaustion. Hard work with education creates equity. So if you want to create affluence, you can't just be motivated. You have to be informed. Now, I'm going to make this culturally relevant in a practical way. In minority communities, we often have strong survival intelligence. We know how to make it happen. We know how to adapt. We know how to hustle. We know how to take care of people. We know how to be resourceful. That's real. But survival intelligence alone does not produce ownership. And the gap between survival and affluence is education. Because education is what teaches you how to convert your effort into assets. Education is what teaches you how to take your skill and turn it into a system. Education is what teaches you how to take your income and turn it into equity. Education is what teaches you how to protect yourself from people who sound confident but don't know what the heck they're doing. Education is what teaches you how to walk into rooms where you used to feel out of place and operate with clarity. So let's talk about what educate yourself actually looks like in daily life. It looks like the person who reads instead of scrolls. It looks like the person who asks questions instead of assuming. It looks like the person who studies contracts before signing them. It looks like the person who learns how credit works before financing. It looks like the person who understands the difference between revenue and profit. Education looks like the person who knows what an asset is, what a liability is, and why it matters. Education looks like the person who can explain their business numbers without guessing. It looks like the person who can say, I don't know, and then go learn. That's what educated people do. They don't fake competence, they build competence. Now, I want to address a fear that stops many people from educating themselves. Some people are intimidated by learning because they associate learning with becoming made to feel small. Maybe school wasn't a great experience. Maybe you were labeled early. Maybe you didn't feel seen. Maybe you didn't feel supported. Maybe you had to work instead of study. Maybe you didn't have the environment, and that's real. But if you let your past experience with education keep you from educating yourself now, you'll keep paying for what you refuse to learn. Educate yourself is not about being smart. It's about being intentional. It's about being disciplined. It's about being hungry enough to grow. Now, let me give you a practical framework. This is how I want you to think about education moving forward. There are 3 levels: information, understanding, and application. Information, understanding, application. Most people stop at information. They watch a video, they read a quote, they listen to a podcast, they screenshot a post, then they say, that's good. But they don't understand it deeply and they don't apply it consistently. Affluence is built at an application level. So educate yourself means you don't just collect tips, you install skills. You don't just hear concepts, you build competence. And competence is what produces confidence. Now, let's get specific. If you're serious about building wealth, there are a few categories you must educate yourself in. You can't outsource these entirely. Even if you hire experts, you need enough knowledge to make good decisions and avoid getting played or scammed. Category 1, money literacy. You need to know the difference between income and wealth. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep, what you own, and what pays you back. You need to understand budgeting, not as restriction, but as direction. You need to understand cash flow, not just paychecks. You need to understand that lifestyle inflation will steal your future. You need to understand that the goal is not to look successful. The goal is to become stable, scalable, and free. That's money literacy. Category 2, business literacy. If you're an entrepreneur, a creative, a service provider, a professional, you need to understand business basics. How do you price value? How do you package your offer? How do you create predictable demand? How do you retain clients? How do you deliver consistently? How do you build systems? How do you track numbers? Many people can sell. few people can scale, and scaling requires education. Category 3, contract and negotiation literacy. Minorities lose money every day through bad agreements. Not always because someone is evil, but because someone didn't know what they were signing. Education teaches you to slow down, ask questions, and protect yourself. You learn what scope is. You learn what deliverables are. You learn what expectations are. You learn what timelines and payment terms are. You learn what happens if things go wrong. Because if you don't understand agreements, you'll keep making emotional decisions that cost you. Category 4, market literacy. You don't build wealth in a vacuum. You need to understand your industry. You need to understand your customer or your client. You need to understand what people are paying for and why. You need to understand how to position yourself. You must understand how to create demand, not just hope. Market literacy helps you stop being reactive and become strategic. Category 5, relationship literacy. This one is huge and rarely taught. Your network is not just social, it's financial. Opportunities move through relationships. Referrals move through relationships. Capital moves through relationships. Confidence moves through relationships. And many people never get ahead because they don't know how to build strategic relationships. They know how to be friendly. They don't know how to be intentional. Educate yourself includes learning how to communicate, how to follow up, how to add value, how to collaborate, how to stay visible, how to build trust. That's relationship literacy. Now, I want to make this practical with culturally relevant examples. There are people in our communities who are unbelievably talented. The barber with hands that can transform a man's presence. The stylist with skill that makes people feel like a new person. The photographer who can capture a brand in one frame. The chef who can make food that creates loyalty and lines out the door. The trainer who can change bodies and confidence. The real estate professional who can negotiate and protect families. The mechanic who can solve problems most people can't even diagnose. What about the creator who can speak and move people? The problem is not talent. The problem is education around monetization, systems, and ownership. If you are talented but not educated, you will get used. You will work hard and still struggle. You will be the go-to person who can't go anywhere. Educate yourself teaches you how to take that talent and build structure around it. It teaches you how to stop selling hours and start selling outcomes. It teaches you how to build a client experience. Educate yourself teaches you how to create a referral engine. It teaches you to raise prices with confidence because your value is clear. Educate yourself teaches you how to build a brand that attracts better clients. It teaches you to transition from worker to owner. And that transition is where wealth is built. Now, I want to address another obstacle. Some people don't educate themselves because they're waiting to feel ready. But you don't get ready before you learn. You get ready by learning. Education doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. So I want to give you a simple plan that anyone can execute, even if you're busy. Here it is. 30 minutes a day, not 5 hours, not a weekend seminar every month, 30 minutes a day. Pick one category you need to improve in and commit 30 minutes a day for 90 days. That is not a motivational statement. That is a math statement. 30 minutes a day for 90 days is 45 hours of focused learning. 45 hours in one category will separate you from most people. And you don't need to learn everything. You only need to learn what moves the needle for your life. Now, let's make it even more specific. If you're a professional or business owner, here are questions educated people ask. What is my most productive activity? What is my most profitable activity? And why am I not doing more of it? What is my acquisition strategy? How do new clients actually find me? What is my conversion process? How do I turn interest into commitment? What is my fulfillment system? How do I deliver consistently without burnout? What is my retention strategy? How do I keep clients and increase lifetime value? What are my numbers? I'm talking about revenue, profit, expenses, and margin. Where am I leaking money, time, or attention? Those are educated questions. And when you start asking educated questions, you start getting educated outcomes. Now, let's talk about the mindset behind educate yourself. A lot of people want the results of education without the humility of education. Education requires humility. It requires you to admit what you don't already know. It requires you to be teachable. It requires you to let go of your ego, because ego will make you defend what's not working. Humility will make you improve what's not working. Educate yourself is not about impressing people with vocabulary. It's about building competency that changes your results. Now, I want to connect this to wealth creation. Wealth is the reward for solving problems at scale. I'm going to repeat that. Wealth is the reward for solving problems at scale. The bigger the problem you solve, the better you get at solving it, and the more people you can solve it for, the more wealth you can create. But you cannot solve bigger problems without bigger education. So educate yourself is the principle that expands your capacity. It expands your skill. It expands your value. It expands your marketability. It expands your confidence. And the best part is education travels with you. You can lose a job, but you can't lose a skill. You can move cities, but you can't lose what you know. You can change industries, but you can't lose your ability to learn. Education makes you portable. Education makes you resilient. It makes you dangerous in the best way. Now, some people hear educate yourself and they think, okay, Neal, but where do I start? There's too much out there. Here's where you start. You start by identifying one pain point in your life that keeps costing you. Maybe it's poor money management. Maybe it's a lack of sales skills. Maybe it's inconsistent discipline. Maybe it's unclear positioning. Maybe it's weak boundaries. Maybe it's a lack of systems. Whatever it is, pick one. Then you choose one learning lane. Books, audio, mentorship, courses, coaching, classes, certification. There are many ways, but choose one lane and go deep. Depth beats dabbling. And then apply what you learn immediately. Because again, affluence is built at the application level. You don't need more inspiration. You need more implementation. Now, let me close with a perspective shift that I want you to hold on to. Educate yourself is not a task. It's an identity. It's deciding I am the kind of person who learns. When you become that person, your results become inevitable, because the marketplace will always reward the person who can think clearly, learn quickly, adapt intelligently, and execute consistently. And that is available to you. Not based on your background, not based on your zip code, not based on what you were handed, based on what you decided. So here is your assignment. Pick one category that will change your next season. Commit to 30 minutes a day for 90 days. Track your learning. Apply one thing every week and watch what happens. Because once you start educating yourself consistently, you stop getting surprised by life. You start anticipating. You start planning. You start building. And that is how cycles are broken. That is how legacies are built. Now, if you want to go deeper into these principles and you want the full framework, I want you to take the next step today. Go to theaffluentnegroes.com, download a free chapter and start reading, or Purchase the book and commit to applying these principles in real time. Don't just admire the idea of affluence, build it. So again, go to theaffluentnegroes.com, download the free chapter or grab your copy and start putting these principles to work for you. Remember, I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time I see you or you see me, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.